by Castle Global Services. At Castle Global Services, they have an array of services both for residential and commercial. You can go in there if you want to automate your house with a badass security system, mobile internet. They have all the services, and on the commercial side as well, and also on the residential. If you're one of those people that is tired, man, I don't sound like Tyson. My accent is coming out. I sound like fucking Tony Montana or Desi Arnaz, for those of you who remember that guy. Anyways, if you're one of those people who's tired of paying the high end costs of Obamacare or your medical your healthcare, your current healthcare is way too expensive just to insure your family, go to Castle Global Services, and you'll see right there the service called Impact. You go on there, and for less than $500, actually, even for less than $400, you can provide great medical care to your family and to yourself and your family, for very affordable. You don't have to see network partners, in care, out of care, and all that crazy stuff. You can see pretty much anybody you want at a very affordable price. So go ahead and go to castleglobalservices.acnibo.com. Check them out. And this show is also brought to you by Primerica. Hey, are you driving around on your retirement? Well, let me explain. Are you one of those people that's driving around on this badass car, but pretty much, something that you cannot afford, and you're making all these crazy payments, or you just mismanaging your money? Go to the link right there on the show bio. Check them out. Give them a call. They will help you get out of debt, learn about money, make more money, and save your money, and exponentially grow your money, and then have something for your future. They'll help you planning for your for your kids' college, whatever else, all that good stuff. And they can also do a financial needs analysis, an FNA, all for free, and it'll be a blueprint to basically get out, like I just mentioned, all the previous things, all for free, no commitment, nothing else. I mean, if anything, I mean, I would just go there for that financial needs analysis. You know what I'm saying, bro? So go ahead and check them out. It's on the show description right there. Just make sure you click and follow. And if you like the show, don't forget to subscribe, like, and follow, pass it on to everybody else, because here, the show is also, we support the Constitution. I did it for many years, and I still do. So, all about the right to bear arms, freedom of speech, all that good stuff. So, stick around, or if not, move on to something else. And by the way, this show is also brought to you by the VA.
This is a message from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. If you were exposed to toxic substances while serving in the military, a new law called the PACT Act may make you eligible for additional benefits and care. The PACT Act benefits veterans of the Vietnam era, Gulf War era, and post 9/11 era who were exposed to toxic fumes, burn pits, Agent Orange, radiation, and other environmental hazards. Survivors of toxic exposed veterans and veterans who served in specific countries in Africa, the Middle East, and Southwest Asia are also potentially eligible. Learn more about the PACT Act by going to va.gov/PACT or by calling 1-800-MY-VA-411. We at VA are here for you, and we're ready to get you the care and benefits you've earned and deserve. I'm Mike Richmond.
Hey, we should all be running to your nearest veteran service officer, or veteran service organization like the DAV, American Legion, or whatever else, to help you put a claim together. Because right now, I mean, you don't have, with the PACT Act, whatever condition you got going on in relations to the burn pits, so on and so forth, you don't have to submit any medical documentation. Anyways, that being said, hey, let's kick off this bad boy. Let's bring my brother from another mother into the fold, Mr. Ken Crenshaw. Era, get some.
What's going on? Uh-oh. Let me see. There we go. How's that? There we go.
Nice. Hey, we got Ton Tavern of the South over there.
That's right. Ton Tavern of South Bama. You doing all right, bud?
I'm doing great. How about yourself, bro?
I'm good. It's dealing with some rainy weather down here in South Bama, but it's okay, because you know what they say: if it ain't raining, we ain't training.
We're amphibious anyway, so we
That's
like
right.
that. We like that kind of misery.
That's right. Amen. They love that. Hey, misery loves company, right?
No shit. Oh, and by the way, we got the other guest on the show is your cat. What's your cat's name, anyways?
Smokey. Smokey.
Smokey.
Yeah. She's
Smokey.
yeah, she's like 200 plus years old and everything like that. And she feels neglected if we don't say hello to her and everything. But she kind of wandering around somewhere doing something and everything. But she let me know every now and then where she at.
She's probably walking Firewatch right now, walking her post.
Oh yeah,
Repeating her
and
11
I'll
general
tell you,
orders.
and brother, I'll tell you this much: in the wee hours of the morning, she is talking and spouting out general orders, dude, at like 2, 3 in the morning, and I'm always telling her to shut up and everything. But
Shut
yeah,
up, PFC.
I'll bring back some memories. So, what's going on, man?
Hey, no, yeah. Hey, by the way, first of all, thanks for coming back on the show. Thanks for your
Absolutely. Thank you
service.
for having me.
And I mean, I know you're still putting yourself in harm's way as a emergency responder right there at Fort Rucker. Right,
Fort
get some.
Rucker. That's right. Hoorah, Fort Rucker, Alabama.
Yeah, but
Department of
last,
Public Safety.
yep. Hey, I mean, you're still at it, man. So, thanks.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you, bro.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And, I just, again, thank you for what you do and what you do for people out there and offering your help and services and stuff and everything. So now that we're done kissing each other's ass, let's get this going.
Yeah, no shit, right? Doesn't mean that we're gonna be swapping spit at early hours of the morning. No, but last week we talked about
Hoorah,
yep,
Gunny Highway.
Johnny Highway, Mr. Clint Eastwood, best movie ever.
Hey, what do
Last week,
you think? Just out
uh,
of curiosity, I'm not trying to derail the show or anything, but what do you think out of the leadership traits Gunny Highway would pick? What 3 do you think he'd pick?
out of the 14 leadership traits that we
I'm
talked about
sorry, I
last week,
apologize. Out of the 14 leadership traits, what 3 do you think Gunny Highway would have picked?
I think he would choose courage, uh,
Yep.
decisiveness, and I think integrity. I think those would be, um, the ones that
Gunny.
in my opinion, again, me, why? Because integrity,
Mhm.
I think, even though he was firm, he
Mhm.
was also fair.
That's
And,
right.
he also had the integrity to, do the right thing.
Mhm.
Whenever, at any given time. I mean, during that movie,
Mhm.
he had the courage. I mean, the dude, he said, he even though his buddy from Vietnam didn't make it. I mean, the dude, I mean, he was decorated. I mean, he had a salad bar of ribbons,
Yeah, he
uh,
did.
and he made a decision whether good, bad, or was a good call or a bad call, which is one of the things that they embed in our head. I mean, you stick with that decision, no matter what the outcome is, because sometimes you got to make those difficult calls.
You do.
Um,
Eh,
and it's great that you asked that question, because it kind of ties in, to an episode a few months back where I talked
mhm.
about when I was in Iraq and during the first push, when we got there, there was this captain, and we used to call him fucking Lord Helm and Lord Helmet. Remember that from
Lord
Spaceballs?
Helmet. Yep, I
I mean,
do.
this dude, his bed. I mean, he was nothing but head and a fucking mustache. I mean, his head was
Uh,
so big, he probably used a stop sign as a cover block. Eh, I hate, and I could not. The dude's a reserve, then because remember we took the reserve battalion. But anyways, he made a dumbass call based on the Lance Corporal's um, input when
mhm.
me as a sergeant and another and the
Mhm.
staff sergeant were telling me, "Don't do that." Anyways, but to go to sum it all up, he made that decision and he stuck with it, even though it was we almost ended up losing a Marine and we did lose a vehicle. And I gave my report. I mean, the dude made that decision. So I mean, for that, I give him that much credit. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But you
Okay.
were gonna
Yeah.
say something else.
No, 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 no. I mean, I see your point there. What I was going to touch back on is the first one you mentioned, integrity, and I think that is very important because even like in my job, the men and women I work with and stuff, or in any job you work with and stuff, as a leader, people look to you to solve problems. They look to you to give them guidance and stuff. And I feel that it's very important that people have the integrity to be honest, to do their job, to come to you with, the integrity to do the right thing, do the job right, be honest with you, because there's so many things that can be affected by if you don't sit there and do your job right, or you don't sit there and come to a leader and be honest with them and have the integrity to say, hey, this is what is going on. This is what the problem is, because as a leader, we're problem solvers too at times. And if somebody doesn't have the integrity to come to me and say, hey, I feel like this is inadequate in training, I feel like we're doing this wrong when we fight fire, then me as a leader, I don't have the ability to sit back and say, okay, let's look at this and let's reevaluate it. So to me, one of the leadership traits I would choose would be integrity.
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
obviously. I mean, you gotta be forged out of, a special kind of steel. What I think is to tie it to not only the 14 leadership traits and the whole acronym JJ did tie buckle. Uh, I think also it leads. This is a good conversation that and I also want to touch up on the 11 leadership principles, not the traits, but the principles, because and they kind of like you mentioned, you got to know yourself and seek self improvement. In other words, hey, you know what? I messed up. I made a mistake. Having the integrity to admit that, and then okay, let me gut check. Let me fix myself, or be able to like between you and me, which I've done and you've done to me is like, no, dog, you're wrong.
hmm
Fix yourself. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Okay, you know what? You're right. Or the other one, be technical, and seek self improvement. Because right or wrong, do are we not only as individuals or humans, but I think as Marines or service members, not to make a draw a line on the sand. I mean, are we or not? Are we or not our own worst enemy or criti- criticizers when it comes to doing something?
yeah.
You know?
I think some people are. I think some people are their worst enemy. I mean, they're their worst critic. You know, and eh, that that could be a bad thing, but it can also be a good thing
Yeah.
if you know to an extent. If you have the integrity to sit there and say, okay, recognize what you did wrong, don't beat yourself up, and just seek self improvement in the fact that, okay, next time let me do this way, or next time let me, go this route. And
Right.
and don't always think that you know everything. Don't always come off like, okay, you can do the job better than anybody, because there's always somebody out there that can do the job better than you. There's always someone out there that knows more than you. And that's not being cocky, and that's just the truth.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's like, it's a fine line. Don't beat yourself up too much, but in the same token, recognize, criticize what you did, reflect on what you did wrong and how you can improve yourself.
No, I like the fact that you said, being cocky and, you know, having, I guess, then intestinal fortitude,
Yeah.
to do whatever. I just read a meme the other day, that person who is less qualified or knows, more, that more than them, but they're in charge. They're there because basically it's all about they're more confident than you. Is kind of to just I'm paraphrasing, but I mean, oh yeah,
Mhm.
you know what? It makes sense. So by the way, if those of you out there listening, if you want to chime in on the show and jump on here live with Kenny and I to shoot the shit and talk about this subject, please by all means go right
Right.
ahead. Put your thoughts put your comments right there, and then we'll go ahead and we'll bring you on
That's
board.
right.
Which to move on to the next topic. I mean, it kind of it's no this says the 11 one of the principles is know your Marines and look out for their welfare. But let's just to change the know your team or know your folk your team members or your employees and then look out for the best interest for their welfare. In other words, lead from the front, not from a fucking office sitting there and then just barking out emails or on Teams, you know, and then hey, do this, and it's like you know, be hands on, but not to the point where you don't let your folks shine, because that's the whole
Yeah,
point, you know what I'm saying?
absolutely. Don't be afraid to jump in and do something that you wouldn't ask your fellow people to do. But in the same token, don't sit there and take over something where it's like, okay, I'm shining, and not let your team, your fellow workers and stuff sit there and shine as well. Because I feel like as a leader too, you need to boost up your team. You need to, bring out the best in them and let them step forward and let them shine. And that leads to, promotions or other things. Yes, I agree. Absolutely. That's right.
You
Yes.
know, during the push, and it's kind of in that same situation where I talked about Lord Helmet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we did not have outhouses to civilize the term, a shit house, basically. God damn it. We didn't have anything. We got to one of our first positions. This is in Blair Field, in the city of Al Qut in Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
So I drove around, and I was like, "There's no way I'm going to go to the bathroom on a Humvee, tired, propped up on some pallets, and in this dug up hole." So I drove around that airfield, dog, in a Humvee with a Lance Corporal, and I was trying to find the CBs, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll tie this all into the next two things on the principle.
Please do, because this is interesting.
So I drove around. I drove around the airfield, looking in every CBs, because if hey, by the way, if you're any of you who are young here and join the service and you get deployed, find the fucking CBs.
Yes.
Those dudes
Yes.
are a godsend.
Amazing.
They will
They
build.
are fucking awesome, dude.
They will build anything. So that's
Right.
what I did. I drove around this Humvee, and I was like, to every CB unit, there was two of them in Blairfield, and I was like, hey man, whose ass do I gotta kiss to get some porta johns or porta potties built for my, for my unit on the other side of the the field? And they're like, hey, talk to, they call their lieutenants LT. Hey, talk to the LT. And so I went over, hey sir, how you doing? My name is Sergeant. At the time I was a sergeant. I was like, hey, my name is Sergeant Korea, blah blah. Say, hey, what can I do for you guys? So I get some shit houses built for us. Basically, it was like a little hooch with
Yeah.
with a 55-gallon drum cut in half under.
Mhm.
So oh hey, we need a Humvee repaired. It's got a blown tire, and I was like, I got you. So I went back, grabbed the tire. Myself and that last guy would put that fucking tire on. And within like 2 hours, these dudes rolled up on their tram, on their forks, and they had an outhouse with, I think, like 4 shitters in it. And dude, I was the hero I was the hero of the day. And but I was like, okay, this how this goes. Hey, after those gallons get to a certain level, we gotta burn the shit in it,
Mm.
and in order to basically get rid of whatever the waste, right? You just
Yeah,
can't dump it
absolutely.
anywhere. So
Part
I
of being
went,
in the field.
yeah. So I went out in town and with a Humvee, with 4 Marines in the back, and we got some MoGas, some gasoline. And then I was the first. Let me show you how it's done. So I put gasoline mixed it with diesel, and I was doing with a tent stick, a long tent stick. Dude, I was burning poop and mixing that stuff up. And I was like, hey, so ranks, sergeants and below, we're gonna make a shit burning roster. And nobody's better. There's no Sergeant
Yeah.
5.0 and all this other shit. So everybody here gets to do this because unless you want to be crapping on a tire.
Yes.
So I mean, we did
And,
that. And no,
and
sorry, go ahead.
no, please. I mean, not to interrupt Denise, but again, what you're saying, what you're touching on, you're not sitting there and you're not showing your subordinates or troopers or anybody that's working beneath you or works for you or whatever. You're not showing them like, hey, I'm in control here, I'm better than you, or I'm in a higher position. You're doing this because I'm beyond that. No. One of the most important things that I've always lived by when when I was working contracting overseas firefighting, or even in the fire department now, I will never sit there and do let my guys do something that I'm not willing to jump in there and do first. And they respect a leader that is willing to get his hands dirty. They respect someone that's willing to sit there and stir shit, because they're not putting them, their leaders are not putting themselves above them. They're
Right.
right there with them. They're
Right.
right there on the front line. They're right there helping them out. They're right there stirring the shit with them. So, I mean, that's great. That's awesome, because to me, again, that I know people are out there going, okay, you're talking about shit and leadership. Yeah, you're right. But you're basically sitting there and nobody is above stirring that shit. Everybody's here. Everybody's going through the same thing. We're over here. We're doing the same job. We're dealing with the same bullshit. And as a leader, you took it upon yourself to try to bring some little comfort, even if it was in the form of an outhouse.
There
And
you
you're
go.
also showing
The
your
latrine.
latrine. And you're also showing your subordinates that, hey, nobody is above having to clean up after each other. So,
Right. Which, we're going to skip one, but we'll come back to it. But I mean, that's, that leads to setting the example and ensure the task is understood, supervised, and accomplished. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? I mean, that was like, hey, and by the way, I was like, hey, I was the first one who did it. Make sure that I'm on that roster. So when it comes back, when it's my turn, that I want to be on it, because, hey, nobody's better. I only have one individual, uh, another guy who bitched about it, another fellow sergeant, and this guy, when I first got to my first unit in Camp Pendleton, and you used to be up the road, not that far from me. One dude they recalled back, and that motherfucker, yeah, him and I, we had some words, and that's another story for another show. But
Another time, story
yeah,
for another show, huh?
yeah, but
But
it kind of
and
falls.
you're always going to deal with people like that. You're never
Yeah,
going to get 100%. You're always going to get some people that are like, well, I'm better than this, or fuck this. I don't need to do this and stuff. And to me, it's just like, everybody is in the same suck.
right,
Everybody deals with it. Nobody is above anybody. But you're never going to get 100%. You're always going to have some people that are going to say, fuck that.
right. And you got to, and which leads to keeping your Marines informed. Uh, I think that when you're in the suck, in that same miserable situation, it makes me feel like we're like, yeah. Thank you, Motomi. We really appreciate your comment, and it's true. I'm glad that you're enjoying the vibe that my brother from another mother and I got going on. But yeah, you got to keep your Marine people informed, because yeah, one thing, and you and I both know that, whether in garrison or training or in the deployment environments, the lack of communication, people get frustrated, and that's when people do dumb shit, and your junior Marines do dumb stuff, and they get in trouble. So I always took it an oversharing to some degree, because as a sergeant or as an officer, it's like, hey sir, or hey sergeant, staff sergeant, what's going on? Like, hey, look, this is what I know so far. Whatever else comes up, believe me, you'll be you guys will be the first ones to I will let that information be disseminated, so that way we're all because right now we're all lost. I'm lost too. I'm like, shit, goddamn. I mean, I'm sure you're falling into that situation too, as with your teams in the fire. I was like, hey, what the fuck's going on?
Well, yeah, because every situation's different. I mean, I always tell people when they come out and they drill, or when we sit there and we talk about an aircraft going down, or we talk about, structural fire, the situation always dictates how we execute. However, one man is not going to execute everything. It takes a team. It takes a team to save lives. It takes a team to put out fire. It takes a team to deal with structural fires and aircraft fires and stuff. It's never one man. And, we go to different fields. Sometimes we travel and we have to work at those fields. And the people that are lieutenants that go to another field, or they're working up as crew chiefs, and they have to go to another field that's not their home field, that they're not usually at. The best thing is when you go in there and you tell these guys, listen, I know what I know. You guys know this field better than me. You probably know these aircrafts better than me. I've learned them. I've studied somewhat of them, but I'm not 100%. So if something happens, we're going to handle this as a team. And I'm not going to sit there and try to take lead, and I'm not going to sit there and act like I know everything. But I promise you this, I'm going to do my job guarding your back and backing you up. And all I ask is you back me up. And that is what's going to get people out of there safely. That's what's going to get the job accomplished. And, that's what's going to basically, God willing, save lives, handle the situation, and everybody go home safe.
No, and this is a great, nice softball, by the way. I don't know if that was intentional, but if you train, the next one is train your Marines or your team as a team, or train your folks as a team, unit cohesiveness, and nurture that, because as cliche as it sounds, there's no I in team. It's not about me. Even as a leader, going back to my speech when I was retired. When I was retiring, I stood there, dude. I was trying to hold the tears in. My voice was cracking. Because what point I said, hey, 'cause, I had the Colonel Lashivsky, who's General Lashivsky now. Shout out to Steve, by the way. I turned around and said, hey, sir, I'm going to talk to the Marines right now. And I turn around, with tears in my eyes and trying to hold it, to hold it together. I turned around to the Marines, and I was basically, I had a microphone, but I was yelling to them, it was never about me. It was always about you. Oh, fuck. I'm getting teary. I just started, but I was telling me, I was like, it was always about you. I always try to be, your servant. And I hope I fulfilled that mission, because without you, I'm nothing. It's all about us and the team, So
It is. It is.
That's what I
It
did.
always, and that speaks tons to the leader that you were and everything, or the leader that you still are. Let
Thank
me
you.
correct myself. Yeah, I mean, it to me, I have learned, and I have gone through, and I've gathered so much from people in this department, and people that I've had the pleasure to work with, that I tell myself, man, you take something from them, and they give something to you, with sometimes without even knowing it. And it's never, to me, one of the cornerstones of being a leader. It's never about yourself. It's about your troops.
Right. And
And your troops will respect you. I have seen so many chiefs come and go in this department, and the chiefs that were respected, the chiefs that were admired, the chiefs that people would want to go and have a beer with, and talk about good times and good memories, were always the ones that put the troops first, that were honest with the troops first, were honest with the guys and gals first, and they knew they had their backs. And in spite of anything, in spite of them getting written up, in spite of maybe the long hours they had to put in after the fact at the office, catching up on paperwork, those were the people that you could ask any firefighter, hey, that chief could come up and ask any firefighter, hey, I need this from you, and they would say, no problem, I got you.
yeah,
No problem.
no, and when you got, even myself, when I got not my ass, or I was being being mentored to be better. It's like, you have those leaders that, yeah, fuck, man, I let this dude down. I can't believe I did that. You got your ass chewed, but it was more like you felt bad because you just let this individual down. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
So
yes. And if I may interject too, if you are a young leader, if you are somebody that's coming up in whatever, whether it's promotions in the office, if it's blue collared work, if it's corporate work, if it's the military, if it's the firefighting, police work, whatever, if you are a young leader, you are always going to come across people that are going to challenge you, either the way that you feel like, okay, this guy's an asshole. And if that's the case, just bide your time and try to always learn something from it. Because I promise you this, when you go through being a leader, when you go through that, people are going to come into your life, and you're going to take something from them, and they're going to take something from you. So even the bad ones, you sit there and you take something from,
Oh yeah.
and you always, you always sit there and you hold on, or you learn what you can from the good ones, but even the bad ones, take
Oh
it in
yeah.
stride and tell yourself this isn't going to last forever, but you're learning something from it, whether it's how to be a better leader, how to do things better than this person. You're always going to take something from the bad ones as well. So
Yeah.
don't just sit there and always say, well, fuck, man, this guy's an asshole. This guy's not teaching me anything. He might not be, but it might be teaching you patience. It might be teaching you something else. You always learn something from the bad ones and the good ones.
I'm going through something similar in that case. And
You are.
yeah,
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You
but
know,
oh, go ahead.
no. Go ahead.
No,
I'm
no,
done.
I'm just saying that, uh, it's teaching me those things, and I can hear my wife right now kind of giggling to herself, because everything that you just said, she pretty much has said to me, and I just got to keep saying that. Hey, this is kind of like I've been here before. Let's
Mhm.
just roll with the punches because everything is temporary, which leads to being able to make sound and timely decisions. Because sometimes again it goes back to, and we'll just kind of brush up through this one because we already talked, even though good, bad, or indifferent, whatever decision you make or those leaders make, you stick with them, and then you learn from it, and you move on. But you also have to develop a sense of responsibility among your subordinates. Kind of going back to something that you said earlier, is that you know you let that leader down, you did some, and then it's like, hey man, because I know you've been there before, man. I just got my, hey, we let the chief down, or hey, we let down the stash iron man. We got to get our shit together, and whether it's working late, or getting that, getting your vehicles ready for your next training mission at one of the airfields, or whatever the case may be. You just gotta, the team has got to pull it together and get their head back in the game.
Yes, absolutely. And when times like that come along, you're definitely gonna see who those people that are gonna stand with you, and who those people that are just sitting there and they don't really, yeah, I'm kind of just here. I'm kind of on my own thing. Yeah, I'm listening to you because you're my leader, but you know what? I got other things on my mind. It's really going to sit there and differentiate and show the people that are you, kind of like the old saying, you'll see who your true friends are. Okay.
Right.
And in scenarios like that, you're going to see, if you put forth yourself, how many people that are going to put forth back, or how many people that are just saying, hey, I got you, I got you. And when they're really like, nah, I don't really got this guy.
Yeah,
And
because
you will.
from there, you also start seeing people, hey, who later on you can, like it says right here, employ your command in accordance with its capabilities. You start seeing them like, hey, you know what? I can depend on this individual to do this. Yeah, this guy's a dumbass, or he or she, they're not the brightest, but even the ones that are not up to par can bring something to the table, and you just got to
Yeah,
get in their head, in their OODA loop, and be able to just excuse me, and be able to say, hey, you know what, okay, I'm gonna put this person doing this because they're good at that. Whereas in the Marine Corps, you could just get rid of the shit bag, but sometimes in the private sector is not as easy, so you just got to find out
yeah,
what they're best at.
exactly. I was going to say, it's a little bit different. Like in the military, yeah, there's ways that you could sit there and jokingly motivate them, but in the private sector, and even in the fire department, I mean, like, I've noticed that, okay, crew chiefs, lieutenants, I mean, I wish that they were given just a little bit more of assertiveness as far as, command letting them do, because it's almost like, even as a lieutenant, you can tell somebody, hey, you need to do your training, you need to sign your ATAPs, you need to complete this, and they don't have to do it. And then a chief calls up and says, well, why hasn't this guy done it? And you're like, well, I can't hold the gun to his head. I told him to do it, you know? So it's almost like, it gets to a point where it's like, look, I mean, you can't force somebody in the private sector to do something, but if you're dealing in certain private sectors, certain corporations or something where a supervisor has power, even at the most basic level, at like lieutenant, let's say, and they're able to say, well, look, if you don't complete this, then, I can write you up and send that up the chain, and, that could dock you pay or dock you something like that. You do stuff like that, people get mad. But I tell you this, if somebody's going to get dock paid because they ain't doing something, I promise you that's foot to ass.
Yeah.
People will get shit done. But it's just unfortunate that, sometimes in the private sector, you can only do so much before you have to go to the higher echelon and say, hey, I've done everything I can do.
Right.
And if a man forces you to get to that point, even if you've tried to get into his head, even if you've talked to him, even if you've done everything you can, there's just some people out there you just can't reach. They are on their own level.
Right.
So,
No. And the last one, I mean, I think we already brushed up on this quite a bit, but seek responsibility and take responsibility for your actions. Be able to say, hey, I fucked up. Yep, I'm gonna take my medicine.
And I'm glad you said
Just go
that.
ahead and give it to me. You know what I'm saying?
I'm glad you said that, because I dealt with something this morning before I left. There was a firefighter that almost got mandatory overtime. And basically, in a nutshell, he looked back at the list and he realized that they didn't move him, and they were wrong. And he respectfully called the chiefs. He respectfully talked to them and everything like that. And finally the chief called back, and he never said he was sorry, but he said, you were right. So with what you just said, I do feel that subordinates, people that are looking at supervisors and stuff, when a supervisor looks back at you and says, hey, listen, I messed up, I apologize. To me, that speaks tons. Unless you're just an asshole, that speaks tons, because to me, at least that supervisor is acknowledging, hey, man, I messed up. I made a mistake. I apologize. I'm gonna rectify it. And I do feel people appreciate that, unless you're an asshole.
Right. No. Man, this has been a very profound and deep conversation, 2 week conversation that we've had. I mean, our conversations, I mean, are pretty deep and profound. But I think the listeners, this is something that that you can apply, not just because you and I were in the Marine Corps together. You can apply this stuff to just about anything. I mean, even in life, and I mean, I still do to some. I live by the principles and those traits, and because it helps me, be accountable.
Absolutely.
Well, Ken, I think
we're
we've done enough motivation check to our fellow civilians on the show. But thanks for coming on the show, man. I know that it's your day off. I appreciate what you do. Give my love to Mama Hazel too.
Anytime. I appreciate you. Thank you, everybody out there who's been listening and stuff. And God bless you. Say hello to Matomi. Give her a hug and kiss for me. And I'll be talking to you soon, dog.
Hoorah, get some.
Hoorah!
Hoorah, Platoon 3105. Yeah, I just want to give a quick shout out to Alberto Suarez, super fan of the show. Great kid. Hopefully one day maybe he'll join the Corps, or do a stint on one of our great sister armed forces. But hey, look, if you're one of those individuals who've been ruminating right now and you're just heading down a dark path, and you feel like, hey, you're about to take that plunge into that that cliff where you can never come back from, hey, give us a call. Reach out to our show. Reach out to me. Reach out to a buddy or one of the organizations like the VA, TRICARE, Military One Source, the suicide hotline. But while it may be great and fun, to do some push-ups and raise awareness and all that good stuff, is we cannot when one life is gone forever, and then everybody else that stays behind, we're the ones sifting through the amount of shit and lack of information and the fallout because you're gone. So I just want to say that you matter. Stick around. give us, talk to somebody. And if you haven't taught, in my homework to everybody out there, if you haven't done a buddy check with one of your friends in a while, send them a text or give them a call, pick up the horn and say, hey, I'm just doing a buddy check. Are you okay? Or send a text saying, hey, give me a Lima Charlie, give me a loud and clear that you're okay. All right. I just want to say thanks, everybody. Aishtimas, Daisuki, but we're going to go ahead and index the show right here. So with that being said, I'll see you next week. Ara, get some. Yet.